But what we're here to talk about, of course, are auditions. And I've had a lot of time to think about this over the past couple of years because, and I think it's one of the reasons that we settled on doing auditions for this. I've, like a lot of people who are in directing, you hear auditions, you hear things that you like, you hear things that you don't, but it's not until you start really getting down to why are we casting the people that we're casting, or why does this person stand out, that it really starts to hone down a little bit. And so this is something that what we're going to try to work with today are the things that I hear that really make you stand out and that really help you land roles. We are in an era where, not even just because of COVID, this was happening before, where you're auditioning from home, where your home studio kind of needs to be up to at least audition worthy snuff, and where oftentimes there is nobody to tell you really what to do. These are not the days of the booth directors. You know, I do try to give feedback to people when they audition. I try to always give feedback. When you have a big casting, you can't necessarily do that with everybody, right? You can't necessarily tell everybody to redirect. You don't have the time. So that's the kind of stuff we're going to focus on, is how you can look at a script and how you can pick it up quickly. And part of the reason that I want to do that is because so many people, when they cast, and this is not how it should be done, and we can talk all day about what should happen, but this is what does happen. People say, hey, whether it comes from your agent or it comes directly from a client, I've got a script and I'm sending it out to you, and I need this back in the next 24 hours, 48 hours. What really happens is, as things come in, as people get scripts on the other end. So Katie auditions now, and Antonio auditions an hour from now, and Susie auditions 2 hours from now, just to take that as an example. Katie's comes in, it's like, oh, that's nice, that's lovely. Antonio's comes in, it's like, wow, there's something about that I really like. Susie is already at a disadvantage because somebody in their head has put in why it is that they like Antonio. And so now everything is going to be weighed against whether or not it's better than Antonio. And so now you already get put in this position where, A, if you weren't fast enough to get in, you're coming from a different metric, and B, you have to do something to break through. This is not your fault. This is not anything that you plan to do. And you cannot sit there by your computer waiting for an audition and turning it around in 5 minutes. Nonetheless, those are the parameters that you're dealing with. So, two things that become very important. Again, this is not the way I work, but this is the way a lot of people work. One, you need to be able to turn scripts around really quickly, because you don't know where that inflection point went, that first person that they came in, that they fell in love with, has occurred. Number two, even if nobody is doing that, if you have a script that you do and you do it really well, but you don't do anything that is necessarily different from how other people have approached it, now what you are in the unenviable place of being is, it now becomes simply the sound of your voice. Well, we really like these 5 people, but we're going to pick this person. We're going to pick Jennifer because, I just really like Jennifer's voice. I really like the sound of it. And that's a bad place to be, right? Because that's completely subjective. So that's what we're going to kind of work with. What are the things that you can do that not only get you to where that script needs to be right away, but are going to be things that are going to make you stand out, and stand out in the right way, right? Because you don't want to just do something wacky and people are like, wow, that's really interesting. And we will never cast that, because that doesn't do you any good either. Final note that I'll make on that is that, and I actually just had this happen in the last 2 days. Somebody auditioned for a role. They didn't get that role, but the developer liked so much what they did that they are writing a role for her. Now, that doesn't happen all the time, but it happens more than you might think. Nobody necessarily tells you that. And it's not even necessarily that the role gets written for you, but it's, you put something in somebody's head that the next time a part comes up, they're like, you know what? That person that read for that thing that they didn't get, but man, they were really good. Why don't we just either throw them into this, make sure they get thrown into this audition pool, and you're already top of mind because people are waiting for that particular read, or we don't need to audition. I just know that I like that person so well that I'm going to give them a role, and I'm going to give them this role. Those things do happen. So that is another reason to really make sure that as best as you can, whatever you're doing, whatever you're reading, becomes something that becomes memorable. That's your goal. You know, do what's right for the part, but also do something that's memorable. So with that, we're going to get started. And the way that I want to work this, so I had asked you all, and I believe Lisa sent to you that big, huge, gnarly PDF with 450-ish characters that are all super short, but there are a whole bunch. And I asked everybody to pick two. So what I'm going to want you to do is to tell me the two that you picked. It'll take me a moment to do a search and find what they are. That's going to give me some sense of an idea of how you see yourself, what you know. I've done a quick pick of the scripts that I want to assign to you, but what you pick with that, and we're gonna do one of those two characters that you picked just to get you warmed up, but also to, because these are things that happen in video games all the time, kind of spawn lines, attack lines, hits, death cries. These happen all the time in video games, and these are short enough that we can just kind of, I don't want to say blow through them, but kind of get you warmed up with that. And then I'm going to give you a script cold. I know you've had a chance to see them and you've pulled them up. There's no way you've pulled up every character that's there, and there's no way you've internalized all of them. So this is a little more real world. You get the script. Wow, I've got a little bit of time to look it over, and then I need to hit record and I need to get this out of here. That's kind of what we're going to simulate. Now, we're going to have some time to direct, to talk about it, to maybe, take more swings at it. But that's the kind of gist that I want to get here. And that's the kind of muscle memory that I want to have you feeling is, okay, I get that script. I know I've got a little bit of time, but I got to get that out of there. How do I do that? And what do I do with it? So